Welcome to another Discover Double Bass video lesson. My name's Geoff Chalmers. I'm the founder of the website, and if you haven't been there, you might like to have a look later. The piece that you just heard is called Minor Turnaround, and it's a short piece that I wrote to give jazz bass players something set to learn, a kind of study piece if you like. It's very easy to go down the route of just playing improvised music and never learning a set study piece, and there's a lot of value in that. You're faced with having to overcome challenges of fingering and shifting that you wouldn't normally have to, and this piece has got a few things in which should hopefully help improve your shifting and your intonation, and also your playing in a basic thumb position as well. I'm going to start by talking you through the bass introduction and the melody note by note, and then there'll be a follow-on lesson looking at improvising over the chord sequence that you hear in the middle. So we'll be looking at how you can create really good walking bass lines and give you some ideas for basic solos as well. So let's get started and look at how you can play Minor Turnaround. The piece starts with the notes A to C to D. There's a little pickup, and I'm just checking my tuning, finding the note with a harmonic. And then there's a descending line to C sharp, C, and then there's a little figure which we'll look at in a second. Now, whilst the notes are descending, the line is descending, I'm using this rhythmical device, which is I'm muting the D string with my first finger, I'm plucking that note to get a muted note with my second finger, and then I'm immediately playing the note on the G string, the note D in this instance, with my first. Let me show you. So pick a little pattern like what I'm doing here, of maybe going D to the C sharp, and get used to that right hand ghost note. And if you want more information and more detailed look at that technique, I have a lesson which I'll provide a link for in the lesson notes. So we have this descending pattern, and here we're going C, D, C, but we're shifting, so we play the note C with our little finger. It's a great exercise, this. C, D, and we're sliding to the C. It's a really good way to think about it, that your first finger is playing the note C, then the note D with your little finger, and you're now going to shift and put the little finger where your first finger is. Rather than just shifting an indeterminate amount of space, you really need to learn to measure the distance. And then we play the note B with our second finger, and I'm putting a bit of vibrato on there as well. So from the beginning. And maybe you'd like to check the tuning with the open E. It works quite well. You should have a perfect fifth there. The next part goes, so here it's muted note, B flat, muted note A. So from the beginning. Yeah, so make sure you practice that carefully, the B flat to the A. And now there's a little descending pattern. This is B flat, pulling off, a muted note, then F, then C sharp. B flat, A, muted, F, C. So I'll do that from the beginning. And now the next note is D, and to the beginning again. So that's D, D again, C, A, C, D. And the whole section repeats. Let me just play that through again for you. And repeat. You can add a slap note in, if you like. So it's doing that twice, and then we move into the main melody. The melody uses the first position of thumb position. I'm not going to go into much detail about how, this isn't a thumb position tutorial today, but I'm just going to give you an overview. We're keeping the hand and we're dividing into semitones, and this is what we call the chromatic hand shape. So the notes would be D, E flat, E, F. I'm just referencing my tuning there, and then back down again. So the melody, the hand shape is always the same for this melody. And the notes that we're using are, we have a C on the A string, we have a D, and then E, F, G, and there's an A flat at the top there. And that A flat is taken from the blues scale, which is something that we'll look at later on, and particularly in the soloing lesson. But this melody is very much based around the blues scale. It's a D minor sound with a very bluesy edge to it. So let me play the melody for you. That melody is repeated twice in its entirety. So we'll break it down into parts and we can see what's happening. So it starts by going up the D minor blues scale, D, F, G, then F again, and then G again. And now we've got a little pull off here, A flat to the G, F, D, C, and then we play D, F again. Yeah? Let me play that for you again. And then there's the next phrase. So it's very similar. Again, D, F, G, F, G, A flat, G, F, D, D. So if I go right from the beginning, second part. Now the first part is repeated again. And now there's a little tag on the end which goes G, F, and then E, B flat. And now here we're shifting position for the first time. F, slide down a semitone to E, then A, and then C sharp with your thumb, and then back to the D natural. Let's just do that last bit again, the tag. And I'm shifting back up so I'm in position for the next time. The harmonics that we're playing, I'm actually stopping with my thumb, but you can use the harmonic to reference your tuning. Now, let me play the melody again from the start. First part, second part. Repeat the first part. And then the tag. Now that whole section is repeated again. So you can break it down into these smaller parts that will help you understand that really it's a pretty straightforward melody. And it finishes with the tag. And then I go back and play the open A and a C, C sharp to lead to the D minor, which is the start of the improvising. I just want to make a point about shifting back here. So the tag is. When you head back, don't just move your hand back and hope to play the C. Think about moving back into first position, not half position, first position. And then the C and the C sharp should be right there for you. That was pretty much there. Well, we're going to break up this lesson into a few more parts. We're going to be looking at how to play the walking bass line over the chord sequence in the middle, and we're also going to look at how you can improvise some solos over that. But I just need to mention the very end of the tune and the little tag that we have. So you play the melody all the way through as you do the first time, but this time you add in a couple of extra. And again. And this time, play an open D or the harmonic if you like, and it's the solo kind of bass break at the end. And I'm just doing a kind of descending pattern, which is and then it does a little riff, which I'll talk about in a second. But if we look at that part, it's D, F, D, C sharp, F, C sharp, C, F, C, and then B natural, which is over a harmonic. And I then play the D harmonic on the G string. So let me do that for you again. D, F, D, C sharp, F, C sharp, C, F, C, B, and the harmonic, then B flat, and then A. And at this last part, I'd like you to improvise some kind of minor riff. And what I played is something to do with the blues scale, I think. It was... So pick something that works with the blues scale. But what worked really nice, I thought, at the end was I did a pull off from the F to the open D, and then I played C natural and shifted up to the D, and I like that tension and release. Do that as slowly as you can. It's a little bit much, but you get the idea. Well, I hope you found this lesson useful. Don't forget there's 2 more parts. We're looking at the soloing and we're looking at how to play a walking bass line over the chord progression that's in the middle of this tune. If you've enjoyed it, please let me know by leaving a comment, by pressing like if you're watching on YouTube. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.